Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and this is Millionaire Mentorship Call number 195. I first want to thank all of our listeners, all of you who participated, who've been here with me, with us, because we could not be here if you were not there. So thank you so much for being here. And for our new folks joining us, just welcome aboard. The numbers that you call, chat, put them into your phone. Every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. we will be here, and we'd sure like to have you and share it with some of your friends. I look to the day that we have 1,000 people on this call, and you can do that. We can do that if we work together and share the word. Today especially, our topic is the power of relationships, and the foundation for this comes from our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And those of you who do not have it, it's available at www.12uls.com, www.12uls.com. It's also available, of course, on Amazon and most of the other websites. Now, the power of relationships. Those of us who are in business and network marketing, they always say that relationships, it's all about relationships, that relationships are the key to everything, that success depends on our relationships. Well, I'll tell you this, folks, no matter what business you're in, success depends on relationships. In life, success depends on relationships. Relationships are as fundamental to living as breathing. And that's an awesome statement. Relationships are as fundamental to successful living as breathing. So let's put relationships into a context. Relationships are really about energy, about vibration, about harmonics. When we think of relationships, think of music. My daughter is a musician, and when she's playing, and she and her group sometimes, when everything's clicking, you feel it. And you just smile, and it creates a vibration inside. When you're in an orchestra or band, and all of the music, listening to this whole Prince experience, and so many of the songs that he created, I didn't know that he wrote them, but it brought back a feeling. Just hear it again, brought back a feeling. And so relationships are about vibration, about harmonics, about an energy that passes between people. So if we talk about the power of relationships, think about creating the beautiful symphony of life that is your life, that is my life. That each of us has the capacity to create a symphony. As a matter of fact, we have to create a symphony that is our lives. We can either create it affirmatively by the choices we make, or we can create it passively by the choices, by the actions we refuse to take. A choice is always made, either by action in the affirmative or by inaction in the negative. And so if it's about choices to create this symphony of life, how do we create these relationships? What's the power of these relationships? Well, relationships is really about, first let's do this. Let's look at the definition of relationships. It's always a good place to start, because words are communication tools, and we always have to be on the same page. So according to the dictionary, relationship is a connection, often by blood or marriage or kinship. it is also a continuous attachment or association between people, companies, firms, countries, between entities. So let's look at this operative word or phrase, continuous attachment between entities, between people, between companies, between countries. Relationship is a type of bond between people. Let's deal with people. It is either a bond of encouragement, upliftment, or it can be a bond of discouragement and criticism. So when we look at it in that sense, relationship is really about the nature and power of the bonds that connect us to other people and the impact of those bonds on our lives. There's a spiritual aspect to relationships, and it says when two or more are gathered on one accord, I am among them. I am in the midst of them. This is a property of human beings, a property of beings that exist, that when people come together, a vibration is created, a harmonic is created, a consciousness is created that's bigger than the individual people. And so it says, when two or more gathered on one accord, I am. The making power is there. The ability to get things done so that 1 + 1 is equal more than 2. And 2 + 2 is more than 4. Because when beings come together, there's a vibration created that makes things happen. And we call it the making power, the I am power. And relationships are the platform on which the I am power operates. And so when two or more minds come together on one accord, that accord can be negative. You see, the laws of the universe, the laws of success operate absolutely. In the Chinese philosophy, the yin and yang, there's always a positive and a negative. There was a movie, I think it was called Oh God, and a young man was asking George Burns, who was, I just dated myself, most of you have never heard of George Burns, but he was a very popular actor, and he was playing God, and a kid came up to him and said, if you're God, and you're supposed to be all powerful, then why do you create sickness? Why do you create pain? And Burns answers, well, even though I'm God, I've never been able to figure out how to create an up without a down, how to create light without darkness. And so everything in the universe is harmonic. So when people come together on one accord, if it's a good accord, it mushrooms and explodes. And we have good times. We have peaceful times. We have times that right now in our country we're all seeking. You might say the good times. If that one accord is negative, it's just as powerful. But as they say, the essence of the good times is prosperity and peace and life everlasting. But the essence of the bad times is death and destruction. So you have, for example, in Nazi Germany, the Hitler brought the Germans together on one accord, but it was a negative accord. But it blew up and it mushroomed. But the end result was destruction and death. So, on one accord. When people come together not on one accord, you get chaos. So they may be together, and I know many of you, I'm an only child, but as I've watched people with large families with 8 and 10 and 12 people in the families, and I'm sure many of you can identify when you have brothers and sisters and you can come together and it's not on one accord and you get chaos, and I've seen family situations where everybody's there. It's like, why did you come together to argue? But it's about putting that symphony. The symphony is that family together, and when there's discord, chaos is created, and the results come therefrom. So when we think about success and relationships, there's a saying that if you want to get a prediction of where you're going to be in the next 5 years, then take the sum total average of the 5 people that are closest to you. In other words, the relationships between the people that you have closest to you is predictive and determinant of where you're going. As a matter of fact, relationships can be a reflection of who you are, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. In a sense, relationships are a barometer of who you really are and how you really see yourself and how you really feel. You know, in business and on the job, the relationship you have with your employer is critical. In other words, if you don't develop a relationship with your employer, one that empowers you and one that shows value to what you're doing, you won't be around for long. In business and in network marketing, you know, we often say that this is a relationship business, but every business is a relationship business. Life is a relationship business. But in network marketing, that relationship comes together, and we often say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In other words, the feeling aspect of that relationship. So then, success is really about creating good relationships. What's a good relationship? I thought about that, and there are 3 aspects, 3 sides of relationships. Now there are others, but there are 3 things that when we talk about cultivating relationships, the 3 aspects are respect. Relationship has to be based on respect. And respect is acknowledgement of your humanity, acknowledgement of that commonality with you. You know, when you think about the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, then in the relationships that you're in your personal relationships, if that respect is not there, either out or coming in, then you may permit someone to treat you badly. You may treat someone badly. And so respect is the foundation for relationship. That acknowledgement of the value and the worth of another human being, another person. The second aspect of relationship is love. And love, definitional, is, they say it's an intense feeling, a deep affection, a fondness, a tenderness, a warmth, an intimacy, an endearment, an attachment. Remember that. Love can be an attachment. And so, relationships built first on respect and then on love. Now, love is right relationship between things, between people. It's not the carnal aspect of love, but love just means right relationship, empowering relationship. So in relationships with the person, your significant other, by whatever name they're called, by wife, by husband, by companion, by whatever name, your relationship is really based on that feeling of respect, if it's positive, or it can be on a feeling of pain if it's negative. The third aspect of relationship is action. And so you have to have a respect for the people that you're dealing with, respect for the organization that you're a part of, respect for the business that you're involved with. You have to love it in proper way, in proper relationship. You love a child a certain way, you love a parent a certain way, you love a cohort a certain way, you love a companion a certain way, you love your boss a certain way. But right relationship of balance, and then action. There must be action, because if action is not taken, action is taken. Action is a manifestation of decision. And so if you fail to make a decision, action is still taken. We've talked about the river of life. So in the symphony of life, if you don't play your note, the symphony goes on. But it's different. And so are you. So good relationships uplift you. They honor you. They encourage you. They make you feel good. But good relationships are always a choice. Bad relationships dishonor you, disrespect you, disregard you, put you down, disrespect your core value. And so the good relationships uplift you. The bad relationships hold you down, treat you badly. And we often say, it's good, bad, or indifferent. Well, there's no indifference. Indifference is an illusion. I've seen people get into situations and into relationships where you can see the negative environment, the negativity, the lack of respect that person is enduring, and they say, it doesn't affect me, it don't matter, I'm cool. But it does. It absolutely does. Indifference is just a choice. And so when you are in a relationship and you choose to let someone dishonor you, and you choose to let someone disrespect you or cause you pain, and then you make an excuse for it by saying, I'm not choosing that. That's just the way that person is. That's an illusion. You've chosen to be in that situation. And so when we look at all these foundational aspects of relationships, then the thought is, if that is the case, then how do we go forward? How do we create the person that we want to be? How do we build the relationships that will empower us, that will encourage us, and that will lead us toward our dreams, toward our goals, toward the things we want to be, do, and have? Well, first, we have to recognize that there are different levels of relationship. That first order of relationship is one that places you in the universe. Your relationship with your Creator, with your source. And this is important because it gives you the solid value of who you are. The Creator never creates junk. And so if you feel like junk, if you feel like life is not giving you that which you deserve and that which you want, then you may require a checkup from the neck up and from the heart down. So that first relationship is the relationship with your source, because that's the one that defines who you are to you. We say people in a family, all look alike and act alike and they resemble one another. Well, your relationship with source creates that look-alike, act-alike that you are destined to be, that will guide you into your destiny. The second order of relationship is the relationship with yourself. Now this is where the challenges come, because in the early stages, the relationship between us and source is massaged and directed and controlled by the people around us, the people who love us, the people who raised us, the people who were in charge of creating the mindset and the consciousness that we grew into as adults. And so that idea of the good relationship with yourself, that I am a good person, that I deserve good things, that I am the person I want to be, that I radiate warmth and love. If that challenge is not there, if you don't see yourself as the beautiful person that you are, then that's where we got to get working. Now, that may not be your fault. In other words, in the early stages, our parents and those entrusted with our education, we took on their prejudices. We took on their fears. We took on their nature. And so if we were raised in an environment of criticism, then we may live a life of a critic. We may live a life of insecurity, a life where we're never sure of ourselves. If we were raised in an environment of the lack of love, then we may never be able to love another person. You know, I've seen people use that as an excuse and say, well, you know, I came from we didn't show love, we didn't hug, we didn't, you know, so I don't show love. I don't show compassion. That's just the way I was raised. If we're ever going to make a breakthrough, we have to recognize that as a choice. That circumstance was there, but you choose to be attached to it. You choose to accept that definition of yourself. And whatever you accept, you get. So those on the call today, I think the question that we must all ask is, what definition of myself am I accepting from my past, from my parents, from my significant other, from the world, from my job, from my business? So that relationship with self is the core on which everything else is built. We know when it's not right. It doesn't feel good. But knowing that now, we can choose to fix it. The third order of relationship is relationship with other people. You see, we always bring ourselves to the party, and so if we are not clear on our relationship with ourselves based on our source, then we can't have a meaningful relationship with other people. So many relationships with other people are relationships based on need, based on deficiency, based on hunger, based on fear. And so when that relationship with other people comes about, if we're not clear on who we are, if we constantly get into situations with other people that hurt us, that disempower us, we need to step back. There's something inside about our relationship with ourselves that's putting us in a position for us to choose that. Remember, operative word, choose that. Even in our business, when we start working with other people and we're not getting that response back because maybe those other people don't feel that you care about them. Maybe those other people you're dealing with don't feel that you know what you're doing. So once again, it's a checkup from the neck up and from the heart down. And then finally, that fourth order of relationship is a relationship with things. And you see, things are powerful when you master them. Things are terrible when they master you. I saw a beautiful comment and it said, the wise man, the fool seeks wealth, and the wise man seeks happiness. So often the relationship with things gets all confused, where we think that happiness is attached to material possessions. And so if we don't have a car, if we don't have a purse, if we don't have a watch, if we don't have whatever it is, that material thing that we permit to define us, then we're unhappy. And so the relationship we have with things, especially in business, because so many times we define success in business in material forms and in money. Okay? Now that is not a bad thing, because money is measurable, but money should be a servant and not a master. Okay? So many times we define success in relationships with how other people see us. That we go out of our way to create this illusion for our peers, for the people in our social group, the people in our neighborhood, the people in our church, that we are a happy family, when inside we are screaming in pain. And so this idea of the power of relationships is all-encompassing. It is the foundation for where we are going to be. The relationships that we have determine where we're going to be in our lives. And so, to sum it up, We must recognize that relationship is an energy, is a vibration. That this energy and this vibration is under our control based on our choices. That based on the choices we make of how we define ourselves to the world, or how we accept the definition that others give of us, we create the happiness or unhappiness in our lives. That we recognize that we're in a universe, that we must be clear on who we are, whose we are. That we come from a source that honors us and that makes us joyous and gives us happiness and prosperity and all of those good things. That we must recognize that how we see ourselves makes us magnetic to attract into our space that which is congruent with how we see and feel about ourselves. If we are constantly meeting people who dishonor us, it's us. We're calling them. We're pulling them into our lives. That we have that ability to create relationships with others. The power of relationships is based on the power to define. We define how we permit others to deal with us, how we permit others to handle us, how we permit others to treat us. And then to use that power to define with material possessions, that all that we have, all the material possessions we have, are just servants to do our bidding, to help us be a bigger person, to help us impact more, to help us help more. And so, today, I close with this. Right relationships are the greatest source of power that you can take, that you can meld, that you can mold, that you can build on. That you build relationships in small steps. It doesn't happen overnight. But relationships are built through continuous habit, continuous activity, manifesting how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself, and that alone will dictate how the world responds to you, the things that come to you, and the things that will help you be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have what you want to have. Right relationships is the source of your power to create happiness, to create wealth, to create joy, to create health, and to create the life you wish to live. And so it is. The best is yet to come.